There's good news and bad news if you're Mississippi State. The good news is you don't have to play Cam Scatterbo again, who's probably still running rampant in Tempe. The bad news is that you lost to a Big 12 team, and there are some people that believe that maybe Maction gets the dub at Davis-Wade Stadium. So what do you need to do to get back right if you're Jeff Lebby when you take on the Toledo Rockets? What's going on, SEC Unfiltered? He's Dave Shumate. I'm Cole Thompson, breaking down everything you need to know as Jason Candle and Maction comes to Starkville to take on Jeff Lebby and the Bulldogs. Real quickly, make sure that you hit subscribe and the ring notification down below because this is your new home for all things SEC. Download the podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Follow us on the socials, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at SEC Unfiltered. Follow Dave on Twitter at Mock10 Sports. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. Cole Thompson. And to check out all of our great work, make sure that you visit secunfiltered.com. This episode is brought to you by RHOBACK. Use the promo code SECU for 20% off your first purchase. All polos, joggers, hoodies, more. Look good, feel good this upcoming fall on game days with RHOBACK using the promo code SECU. Tell them the fine folks at SEC Unfiltered sent you. Dave, let's just call a spade a spade. There's a lot to like about this offense in Mississippi State. When you're asking Blake Shapen to throw it. There's a lot not to like when you have to run the football, and certainly there are some questions on this defense. Nobody is expecting Mississippi State to come out of the blue and be this up-tempo, high-passing attack that's going to win the SEC, but you definitely don't feel as good about yourself after losing 30-23 on the road against a still rebuilding Sun Devils team. But this is a get-right week. You're back in front of the home crowd in Starkville. We watched what happened against Eastern Kentucky. But we also got to admit that Jason Candle is one of the best group of five coaches. He knows how to get his team right. Toledo's coming in 2-0 after another victory against UMass, breaking in a brand new quarterback in Tucker Gleason, 6 touchdown passes. You also got John Allen Richter, 1 touchdown run. Willie Shaw has been kind of disappointing on the ground with 15 carries, but still 2 tutties. So if you're Mississippi State, you feel good because you're an SEC team that still is getting its kinks together.
Yeah.
But you also have to realize this is Jason Candle, and the last thing you want to do is allow the Rockets to hang around too late before they start to blast off at the fourth quarter.
Yeah, you're right, Cole. I mean, just look last week with the MAC game. Northern Illinois, the national every game, everybody's kind of talked about with Notre Dame getting upset after the big win at Kyle Field at A&M the week before. Yeah, the MAC, if you're drawing them in non-conference play, it's not a roll the balls out game. You got to go perform against most of the MAC teams. You got to go perform and play well. I mean, I think me and you agree, Cole. We weren't the highest on the Lebby hire, but I feel like first year we said going into it, again, you never want to have a losing record and call it a successful season. But I think we both agreed if he could get to 5, win all 4 non-cons, win a conference game, that would be a good start. Obviously, it's not going to happen after last week.
It ain't going to happen with the non-cons. So now you got to win the next conference.
Now with the loss of Arizona State, can't lose this one because I don't think there's going to be many other games on the schedule this year. I hate being that guy, Mississippi State fans, that you're definitely not going to be favored in. I don't think you're going to get them. I mean, you're not going to get a road game, unfortunately. You're not. You're at Tennessee, at Texas, at Ole Miss, and at Georgia. It's probably the toughest road slate in the conference. Depending what Arkansas, A&M, maybe Missouri, what's going on, you get them at home. But still the goal. You got to win this one because this one's your favorite in by double digits. There's not a lot of those left. There's really not a lot of those left on the schedule. You got to go get this one. But again, like you said, Jason Candle with Toledo been one of the more consistent teams in that conference. They're going to be coming in hungry, 2-0 after wins against Duquesne and UMass. They're going to think they can get Mississippi State. Also, a thing I don't like really here from Mississippi State, teams that come back to the east side of the country after going on a West Coast trip usually don't play well that next week. I mean, because they kicked off at 9:30 local time.
9:30 local. Yeah, it was the late.
Over 12:30. Let's give them an hour and a half. Probably an hour they left. But 12:30, get on the plane. They're probably not taking off till 1:30. What is that, a 4.5, 5-hour flight? Probably. You're not back. You're not probably asleep till 7, 8 a.m. You're not getting a great night rest on Sunday. Your body clock's probably not really back until probably about today, Tuesday. So, I mean, you got to go prepare. I know the Scatterbo kid, Cam Scatterbo, ran all over you, did whatever he wanted to do. That's another concern. I don't like the 3-man front on the defensive line. I think it's one of the probably the worst Mississippi State defensive line from a personnel standpoint, probably in 15 years. And some of that's a compliment a little bit too. Because, I mean, look how many guys Mississippi State's put in the NFL. I mean, from top to bottom, it's probably the most from an individual university program, they have the most successful defensive linemen from a pro standpoint. I mean, Chris Jones, Montez Sweat, Jeffrey Simmons, Fletcher Cox was in the league for a while. They have dudes littered across the board. This year, they don't really have that. That Russell's okay, but again, I think some of it was a little scheme last week with Coleman Hutzler, the first-time OC. And I think a lot of it is Lebby comes from that Heupel tree as well, similar to from the Bryles stuff as well, that they don't like to see the three-man front. It kind of messes with them offensively. I think he hired that because he thought that was kind of something they struggled with. In the SEC, I don't think you can just go be a three-man front. I mean, they were running a three-man front when they were just getting blasted by Scatterboo, just averaging 7.5, 8 yards a carry and just taking it, dude. And the numbers in the box, so Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham are just like, yeah, we'll just keep running the football. We have the numbers in the box. That's something they got to get figured out. I don't know how great Toledo is rushing the football. I think I saw against UMass, they only ran for like 80 yards or something like that. But it'll be tested this week. They'll have a numbers game unless Mississippi State adjusts. But I think that's Coleman Hutzler's scheme. But really, them coming back home scares me a little bit. How do they bounce back? You got to be down a little bit. This was a game you thought going into the season you wanted to have, had to have. Coming back home to Davis Wade, you're going to need this one. You're not going to be favored in much. I'm a little concerned here, Cole, a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to go upset. That 10.5 line's there for a reason. Vegas thinks it's a little concerning as well.
It has to be, but we could also agree at one point that you do have pretty decent quarterback to run this Lebby offense. Blake Shapen. That's been, I think, the one positive that we can take away through his first two games. Blake Shapen's looked great, 68.8 completion percentage. He's averaging a team high. It's number 2 in the SEC, only behind Jackson Dart, 10.7 yards per throw, no turnovers. He's played pretty clean outside of the fumble last week. So you like that he, as a
passer, something you've been able to hang your hat on for sure.
And it's one thing that you could say that he's going to get better as he gets more comfortable in this system. It's one thing to learn the ins and outs through fall camp, through spring practice. It's another thing to be able to get it in live reps where you're actually seeing a team try to take you down, where you have to play outside the pocket. My main concern is, can you establish a rushing attack? Can you establish something? Because of this isn't an air raid offense that's supposed to be just vertical threats down the field. The beauty of a Jeff Lebby offense is they love to throw to run. They love to be balanced. You talk to anybody, they don't call it an air raid. They call it more so a veer and shoot, if I'm not mistaken. It's a lot of rushing, but it just doesn't feel like you have that guy. Davin Booth, I thought, was going to be that guy after the Eastern Kentucky game. It was far from a great afternoon for him out in Tempe. You know, you look at him, I think that he had 8 carries for 7 yards. Kavion Lee, the senior that comes on in last year from Penn State, I think he only rushed for, 31 yards in this game, 35 yards in this game. He did get a touchdown, but still, this is an Arizona State defense that, as good as it's gotten, and I will give a lot of credit, they have turned the corner since last offseason. The hire they made this offseason was great. But it's different when you talk about SEC teams. And when I'm looking at this is from an SEC perspective, you want to be able to have the ability to run the football the way that Jeff Lebby wants, even if it's not perfect, just to be able to have some cohesive conciseness of what the offense looks like. Because the best thing for Jeff Lebby, for him to be able to establish this type of culture, is to have a team that knows how to run the offense. Defensively, this is a year for me personally where I'm just kind of throwing it out the door. If they give up 650 yards and you get a win, you get a win. Offensively, this is about establishing yourself, what works, what doesn't, so that way you know what to build on going into year 2.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we all kind of expect the defense to take its lumps this year. I think it is what it is. You factor in the pace of play they play on offense. But again, I haven't really seen a lot to be really concerned about on their offense. You're right, though. The thing I would be is the run. I think the running game on both sides of the line of scrimmage, on both sides on the defense and offense, is something in Mississippi State that's really kind of what's holding them back and held them back in the Arizona State game. I mean, points-wise, they didn't give up many. I mean, if you told a Mississippi State fan they only gave up 30 points against Arizona State, killing Kenny Dillingham and them who like to stretch the field, they'd probably be like, huh. But again, they kept taking Kenny Dillingham and Scatterboo and them just took what was given to them. I mean, these soft fronts by Coleman Hutzler in this Mississippi State defense. I'm with you, Colin, here. Got to stop the run. Let's try to establish the run. But if I'm Mississippi State, let's get Toledo out of their game. I want to go strike first. Let's get up 10, 14-0. Get Jason Candle and this Toledo offense kind of out of their game a little bit. Let's get them playing catch-up the whole time. If we get down, we're sleeping. We're still on the jet back from Phoenix. We're slumming around. We've had a rough week. We're feeling bad for ourselves. You could be in a hole real quick, and then that's where upsets happen. If you get in a hole early where the team that's the underdog controls majority of the game, that's where you get your trouble. Key will be starting fast for Mississippi State. Starting fast, and I'm with you. Let's establish a run game on offense, and let's try to stop the run on defense. But again, I think if you get up, that kind of takes the element of taking the run game out because it forces Toledo to throw the football. But that's what I want to watch. Can that continue to improve the run game on both sides of the line of scrimmage?
You look at the way that they played, Toledo played against UMass last week, 2 major explosive touchdowns, a 40-yard pass in the very beginning of the game from Tucker Gleason. At the end of the third quarter, a 73-yard pass to junior Vanderos. So they can be explosive. The way that they also can be is efficient inside the red zone. Here's one thing that I do think that could play well in Mississippi State's favor. They struggled on third down. They were 3 of 12 against the Minutemen. And this was, again, a game that you figured, oh, well, you're at home. You feel pretty confident in. It just never was that case. They consistently found their way to get out the field. So the explosive plays are there, but you also can match that explosivity if you are Mississippi State in the passing game. Kevin Coleman looks awesome. Like, that is another guy that so far you pair him alongside with Blake Shapen. They're talking points. They are when you build that entire circle and you find where the positive and the negatives coexist. The furthest to the left on the positive side is Kevin Coleman and Blake Shapen speaking the same dialect and looking like bosses out in Starkville right now. So you can match the explosiveness, but my main thing is, can you force punts if you are Mississippi State? Because if you can force punts, that fast start that you're talking about probably could be established before the start of halftime. And then when you come out the third quarter, if you get the ball, you get to only add on to your record. So now maybe we're talking about a 2-score game against a MAC team that did have its fair share of struggles last week against Massachusetts, but they also still were able to be that explosive team.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is just one I feel like you got the SEC opener next week too. This is one. It's a little scary when you looked at the schedule going into the year because you saw the long road trip. Again, teams statistically they don't lose all the time, and they had that NFL stat for a while too. Teams that were on the West Coast coming back to the East Coast didn't play well, or teams that were based out of the West Coast going to the East Coast didn't play well. But that concerns me here. Just right before conference play, guys kind of down a little bit, looking ahead to Florida coming in for that first conference game. Davis Wade should be rocking for that first SEC game, Jeff Lebby's first SEC game. This game's a little sleepy. I'm a little concerned. I mean, we'll talk about the prediction here in just a moment, but this is a game I think Mississippi State better be ready. Again, I know the coaches will be taking this one serious, but you're just hoping the players are kind of woken up because that body clock may not be getting rolling until this Tuesday afternoon when they take the practice field.
Dave, you and I both always do this when we work together. Pick one player that we want to see something from. For me, just a running back. I don't care who. I don't care if it's Kevon Lee. I don't care if it's Davin Booth. I just want to see a running back. Like Isaac Smith also. Can we give a little bit of credit? And this is a big problem that sometimes I have that people don't understand. Isaac Smith has 28 tackles on the season. He's a safety. That's a problem. People always will say, oh, well, why do you have a safety making this many plays? It's because your front 2 lines are not doing their job, and he is basically playing last man resort. That's not a positive when you see that. But for me personally, the thing about Jeff Lebby's offense is when it is humming, it feels like an unstoppable force. I want to see that unstoppable force against a Toledo team. The last thing that the conference needs right now is to watch another MAC school beat a team that has the talent, that has the charisma, that also has the players that never even consider them. And then it's a David versus Goliath situation where now we're talking about them in such a positive light. And believe me, I'm all for the upsets. But this is Toledo, and that's NIU. Toledo is a team that has proven time and time again, whoever is their starting quarterback, whoever leaves in the portal, whoever they bring in as a young recruit, they're going to be developed properly. It's why Jason Candle has always been linked to Power 4 jobs because he's so good at getting his teams prepared. So for Jeff Lebby's offense, I just want to see what this rushing attack can do. I get that you have a good offensive passing prowess. I get that you can easily sling it. But can you establish a run? Even if it's just a short run inside the red zone and you take pressure off of Shapen, just somebody step up and be that number 1 running back before conference play begins.
Yeah, for me, it's at the inside backer spot. I think the defensive line is what it is, but I think the inside backer spot, I mean, they lost their best 2 guys last year, Jet Johnson, and they lost,
Watson?
No, Nathaniel Watson and Jet Johnson. Yeah, they lost Boogie Watson and Jet Johnson. So you got Stone Blanton, you got Brennan Jennings, got some other guys as well. I want to see either Jennings or Stone Blanton take that next level. Stone Blanton missing a bunch of tackles last week. Granted, Scadaboo's a total monster. He's only going to fall forward. I get after a while, it's going to take its toll on you too. He hitting you every play, especially when your defense coordinator's not adjusting. Stone Blanton and them, again, I think he is what he is. High ceiling, probably higher floor guy. But I think he could help assist in that run game. I really do. He's going to have to, for his sake, probably have to adjust to getting offensive linemen guards off him, shooting and shed, get underneath it, playing with good leverage. Just can't be missing tackles here. That's where, the scheme stopped him for 3 yards, but you know what? You missed the tackle. It went for 6 to 8. That's where you're going to get beat potentially here. But I'm going to look at that front seven again. I want to see that improve. So I'll go Stone Blanton.
Game kickoff, 6:30 p.m. on ESPNU, Davis Wade Stadium. Dave, I'll knock this one out first. Line is set at 11.5. I'm going to be completely honest. I think Mississippi State wins. I'll throw that out there now before I start being a little bit of a negative Nancy. I know that most Bulldog fans hate me. I get it. I haven't seen enough to where I can trust you're going to be able to pull away. I haven't seen it on defense. I haven't seen it on the ground game. I think that you can be very explosive. The question is, can you stop their explosivity? They had a 98-yard return kickoff last week. Can you be able to contain that? I just don't see it. What I see is that this is going to be another game where Blake Shapen has to throw consistently. This is going to be another game where Blake Shapen is going to put up great numbers in front of the home crowd. I think this is a game where you will watch at least one turnover happen because, again, those cowbells will drive you crazy into making a mistake. We've watched it time and time again from Alabama, from LSU, from Tennessee, from Chattanooga. Whoever it is, they can force you into making a mistake, and I think that will happen. But I just don't feel like this Mississippi State team right now is good enough to beat the Lions against opponents to where they're favored by double digits. If this was maybe a 4-point line, I'd feel a lot more confident. I think this is going to be an actual really big back and forth game. I think that you see a win. I think it's going to be 42-35 final score. I just believe that you will get that last punch, whether it be very early to establish something or very late. Shapen balls out. You get a turnover. You walk away 2-1 before the start of conference play. Maybe you consider that a win. Maybe depending on what happens to Florida, you feel really confident before you have to go take on the Gators. But for me personally, I just can't touch that 11.5-point line. 42-35 final score. Bulldogs, they'll get the dub.
That half hook's going to save me. I'm going to go 35-24 Dogs. I'm going to go 35-24. You're going to have Toledo stay within it for half a point, that hook. I'm with you. I'm not sold on Mississippi State here. They have to have this one. If you were to lose this one, that'd be tough. That'd be the worst case scenario for year one for Jeff Lebby. But they'll win. I don't think it's going to be pretty across the board because I think Toledo's going to have some momentum rolling in here. It's perfect timing. They're getting, like I've said it 3 or 4 times now, Mississippi State coming back from the West Coast week before an SEC game where, Mississippi State's kind of looking ahead to Florida, probably at least the players are. I think State needs to be careful here. I think they need to be careful here, but I'm with you. I think the explosiveness on offense, Blake Shapen, again, Jeff Lebby couldn't ask for a better first-year quarterback to come fit in his system that's played a lot of football, has won a Big 12 championship at Baylor. I think Blake Shapen, you're right, it's the difference, but I don't think they cover. I think that hook, 11.5, too rich for my blood, but I think Mississippi State does win by 11. Give me 35-24 Dogs.
Kevin Coleman, calling you now. Give me a 200-yard game from him. I think that it's going to be a really special moment for him and Shapen. I think Shapen throws for over 300 yards. Spooky season's right around the corner. Are we going to see a spooky performance from the Bulldogs against the Toledo Rockets? Make sure that you comment down below your score, overall thoughts of this game from both sides. Make sure that also you're following us on social media at SEC Unfiltered. Like, rate, review, subscribe, not just here, but also on the podcast version of the show, wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Follow Dave on Twitter at Mock10Sports. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. Cole Thompson. And to check out all of our great work, make sure that you visit SECUnfiltered.com. For Dave Shumate, I'm Cole Thompson. Hail State Bulldogs. Later.